Hello and welcome to the Post to Post podcast. I am Jason and I am flying solo. Neil is not here. I will get into that in a minute. This is going to be a very short episode. So short, in fact, that I'm not going to label it as episode 104, which would be the next episode on this channel. This episode is just mainly going to be talking about the situation we're in right now and kind of the future of the podcast. So today is Friday, March 20th. Neil just released a video on his channel, Post to Post Productions, just kind of detailing what the situation is. So if you haven't seen that, I recommend you go check that out on YouTube. I'm going to kind of repeat a lot of what he said in his video. This is actually the second time I've filmed this video. I filmed one video or one kind of episode before this, and then I thought I better wait till he puts his video out and see what he says, and then I'll just re-record based on what he says. And he actually didn't really say anything I didn't expect him to say, and I could have probably gone with the episode that I'd already filmed, but I figured, you know what, now that I've seen it, I may as well just redo it, because there was a little bit of rambling I did in the other one too, and I'll honestly, I'm probably going to do that in this one too, because I'm not very good at speaking by myself. It's nice to have someone sitting beside me so I can bounce ideas off and not have to keep my mouth moving the whole time. So for anyone that doesn't know, yesterday, March 19th, the government of New Brunswick, which is what the province we live in, issued a state of emergency for the province. So there was a bunch of recommendations that the government was giving people like all week, saying, you know, if you don't have to go out, don't go out unless it's for essential things like, you know, like critical care or groceries or stuff like that. They were asking bars and restaurants that didn't have takeout or drive-throughs or deliveries to close. And they just really are trying to get people to stop going out and hanging out in groups. That's kind of been the main thing. And they haven't been too happy with the reaction that people have been kind of doing to it. So I've noticed a lot of people at home, like when you're going around, the traffic is way down. There's lots of cars in yards. Like you can definitely tell all week that people are staying home when they can, if they can work from home. But according to the government, there's just not enough people that are following it. So yesterday they put in the state of emergency, which changes those recommendations into mandates. So you have to follow them legally. They are going to be issuing fines and possible jail time for people or businesses that ignore them. So that's not in place yet, but it's coming. They've said that they really want people to get the message and to stay home when they can. So as Neil said in his video, like technically by law, or technically, you know, according to the government, they don't want him sitting in that chair right there. And Neil and I were talking, and we were saying, like, you know, it doesn't set a good example from us if we tell people out there in our last 3 videos that all talked about coronavirus to, you know, social distance, wash your hands, don't touch your face, be smart, stay home. But then he keeps coming in and sitting in that chair right there after the government has already put a state of emergency in effect and told us to not hang out together. So, you know, we want to be good stewards of that. We don't want to set a bad example. We both agree with the government's handling of this, like what direction they're going. We agree people need to stay home and only go out when they need to. People who are getting groceries and stuff, if you're an at-risk person, you should be having someone get those groceries for you and deliver them to you. Or a lot of grocery stores, at least in this part of, you know, the world, you can actually go order groceries online and have them delivered. Excuse me. My understanding is the delivery services for grocery stores are like swamped now. I know there are people in the medical profession. Sorry. My sister's a nurse, for example. She's on mat leave right now, so she's home. But there are other nurses that she works with, and their internal managers are sending them letters saying that they should avoid grocery stores at all costs and have them delivered. So even the people in the healthcare field, kind of in our area of the woods, are recommending that those nurses do not go themselves to get their groceries, that they order them online and have them delivered. And right now, my understanding is if you put an order in today, it's like a 4-day wait before they can get to you because they're just so full. But, you know, if that's what they're saying, then that's what they're saying. So just people need to be careful out there. So getting back to the podcast, if Neil can't join me, that changes things kind of dramatically. So as he mentioned again in his video, he did order a cord that allows us to hook the mixer up to the computer and the mixer up to the camcorder and the mixer up to the microphones and the mixer to our headphone splitter all at the same time. And what that basically means is we can turn on this computer we have now, connect to some sort of voice software, whether it's Discord, Skype, Google Voice, or just something like that, and then have that audio route into our mixer, and then use our mics, go back to the mixer, send that audio back to the person on that software, and then send all of the audio to the camera, which in turn gets used for this video or the podcast that gets released. And the tricky part was we didn't want people to be able to hear themselves when they talk. So like if we would have just hooked this up like a standard way, as soon as someone talks, that makes all the audio go back out. So they would actually hear themselves talking on a slight delay, which would actually screw them up talking. Because I don't know if you've ever tried it or not, but if you try talking while being able to listen to what you're saying, but there's like a little bit of a delay to it, you're going to screw up. Like not very many people can have a very coherent conversation and talk at a good pace while hearing themselves with like a half-second delay. It's like a speech jammer almost. So one of the problems or one of the troubleshootings we had to do was to make sure that when people did call in, we were only sending audio back from these mics and nothing from what was coming forward. So we did get that worked out, or I did get that worked out. Neil hasn't been here, but so we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different audio cables plugged into the mixer now. 2 of them are for our 4 mics that we don't have. So actually there's really only 7 being used. But with those 7 cables, we now have these 2 mics hooked up to the computer and also hooked up to the camcorder. And when people call in, they will no longer hear themselves talk. So it's the perfect situation if we did want to take calls or to have a podcast or something like that where we just remote in and talk. So that is an option, as Neil said. He was hoping it would work. I can confirm it does work. The only thing we were missing was the final cable we just got that let us hook this up to the camcorder. So now there is video to go along with it. We still need to run a little bit of tech support on it. I did a call with Mitch and T-Park and Mika a couple nights ago, and it seemed to work well, but I think there's a little bit of hissing being caused by the computer we use. This is one of Neil's old computers, and it just has like an old onboard sound card. And I think there's a little bit of interference being caused just because the computer is quite old, and it's not it's not like a high-end sound card. So when you do connect to Discord, when you do move the mouse around and stuff, there is like a high-pitched hiss, and I'm not sure if that actually appears or you can hear it in the video. Mitch was seeming to think that you could. So Neil and I, when we get some time, we'll actually have a call between the two of us, and we'll do a full test run to see what it sounds like. I'll go through the editing process, the post process. I'll upload it to YouTube unlisted, and I'll send it to him, and then we can just go from there in terms of what we want. So in terms of the podcast for right now, we are going to suspend our regular schedule. So if you're on YouTube and you look at the top of the banner, if you go to our page, it says new episodes released every Sunday at 9:00 p.m. Eastern. So obviously we're not going to adhere to that schedule anymore. Neil and I are both adamant that we don't want this to be the coronavirus podcast. And if you factor in this podcast, which isn't necessarily about coronavirus, but it is talking about what's changing in the podcast because of coronavirus, this is actually our 4th podcast in a row that we've talked about it, or our 3rd. Anyways, it's 3 or 4. So, so we had 101, 102, 103, and this would have been 104. So yeah, technically this is kind of the 4th podcast episode in a row where we talk about coronavirus. And then this one, in the last 2 specifically, that's the only thing we talked about. So in episode 101, we talked about the coronavirus because it was just starting. And then we talked about other things as well. That was like an hour and 30-minute long podcast. That was actually a great podcast. But ever since then, that's all we've talked about. And Neil and I both don't want that to be what we talk about on here. We understand that these are definitely trying times for people. A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are getting sick. A lot of people are going to work sick. There's just a lot of people that are in kind of not the greatest situations right now, and we understand that. And we want these episodes that we release going forward to be, upbeat or positive or funny or just to kind of lighten the mood of things. And we don't want to always be dragging everyone down talking about how bad things are getting with the coronavirus. So once this episode here is done that I'm talking about, this kind of fake episode that's not going to have a number, we really don't want to talk about it unless it's something major happens and things really go bad, and then maybe we talk about it for a couple minutes. And if it follows the curve that we're expecting, then we really have no plans of talking about it further because, everyone, everywhere, every news outlet's talking about it. If you want to get your coronavirus news or updates or opinions, I'm sure there's plenty of that you can find online or on your cable TV or whatever. So, yeah, we just don't want to do that, which is why we are suspending our regular schedule of weekly videos or weekly episodes every Sunday at 9. So that's that. So it kind of sucks. We just got this studio kind of finished, and we just kind of rebranded the channel and got a new channel on YouTube going. And, we were kind of taking the next evolution of the podcast and just really getting going with it. And now we have to kind of ground it to a halt, which really sucks. It's really disappointing. But it's just not the same when you don't have, your co-host sitting right beside you. So, in terms of releasing, content for the future, for the time being, we won't have a schedule on it. Like, we're not going to announce when our episodes will release. We're not even sure when or how, or, the 5 W's, what's going on with ours. Like, we don't know. Maybe we won't release for a while. Maybe we'll have one next week. We don't know. So Neil and I are going to do some testing with the system we have in place. We could have multiple people join. So, like, there's no limit technically to how many people could join our system, but there is a limit to having too many people talking over each other. So I'm thinking like 4 is probably the limit. So we have like a round table of 4 people virtually. So kind of me sitting here, and then Neil at his house, and then up to 2 guests. So maybe we could have Brent on, maybe we could have, a couple of our friends on. Maybe we could have just random people on, like people from fans. Like, there's no limit to what we could do, but we have no concrete plans right now. I know we talked in the last video or last podcast about possibly setting up a live stream. That's kind of on the shelf for now because, I could live stream down here with just me sitting here by myself, but there's no real point of doing that. Even if we had people call in, like had Neil permanently on and then had other people call in addition to Neil. If we're going to live stream, I want to have, us in studio so we have that kind of control. So I'm going to make an executive decision right now that we do not do any live streams until this is kind of resolved. So in terms of call-in episodes, though, that's definitely an option, as Neil said in his video. Here we go with the rambling. I'm sorry, folks. I am starting to ramble a little bit, but I'm just really disappointed that this is how everything's working out. Like I was pretty pumped to get things going on this new channel and kind of be back in the podcast because, there was like 80 episodes where I wasn't in it. Like, this is something that I started to kind of take Neil or work off of Neil. And when we first started it was an audio only kind of deal. Like, we uploaded the videos to YouTube, but we didn't actually record with the camera. It was just kind of like a single image and then you listen to it. So since then, the podcast has evolved and it is now a video production as well. So it is more work to do, but I was definitely excited to get back in on it. But as you guys know, I'm not good at talking into the camera or the microphone, especially not when there's no people here to talk to. Like, I'm just sitting in this studio all by myself right now and providing you guys an update. And I wanted to provide an update. I know a lot of you, like I said, have seen Neil's YouTube video by the time this releases, but if you are an audio only listener, maybe you haven't. So I wanted to provide that to them as well. So like I said, just if you are on YouTube, just keep checking your emails. Just keep checking the channel for a new video that gets released. Because right now, I think we do want to do something. We just don't have any idea what that's going to be yet. And we don't have a timetable for it. So we can't even ballpark when to check in. Like, hopefully it won't be like months from now, but it probably will be a week or 2. And if you're an audio listener, same thing. If you have your podcatching app on your phone or whatever, however you listen, maybe you're on Spotify or whatever, just check in every couple of days and maybe there'll be a new episode there. And we'd really appreciate it if you listen to that. So like I said, we're going to try to have more upbeat podcasts for the time being, just because we understand a lot of people are going through hard times right now. And this isn't, everyone's kind of just locked down and doing their own thing right now. So it just, we understand what's going on, especially here in New Brunswick. Like, we're now under the state of emergency too, which a lot of people already are. And I anticipate more people are going to be in the future. So, we're all in this together. We just got to hang in there and do what we can, and hopefully things will get better. So that about kind of covers everything I wanted to say. So just keep checking in for new episodes, both on YouTube and on the podcast. And we will look into doing the call-in stuff, I guess. I don't know what to call it. Just Neil and I have to test it. And so we're going to do that in the next coming days. Hopefully we can get that done this weekend. And then we'll go from there and kind of check in, and hopefully we can create some content that kind of liftens. I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now. It kind of lifts your spirits. Liftens your spirits. Okay, Neil, you need to get this pandemic under control so you can sit next to me again, because I'm not doing too well here by myself. Should have stuck with the original episode. So anyways, I'm going to wrap that up, guys. So I'm really sorry that we can't go forward anymore with just the regular weekly episodes. It does put a damper on things just as we were kind of getting going again, but just keep checking in. And in terms of the audio only podcast winner, Neil and I will have to go through and do that together. I actually originally had anticipated that being done already, but with everything that's been going on and stuff, it's kind of still been put off to the side. So we do have all the names of the entries in a category, and then we're going to just randomly pick one either through like a software or something. Like Neil likes to pull names out of a hat. I guess I could do that too. Or I could just give every person on that list a number and then do a random number generator online, and then whatever number comes up, we can match to the name. I'm not sure how I'll do that yet, but it is going to be random. It's not going to be, we're not just going to look through the list and pick someone. It's going to be randomly decided, and then we'll get a hold of them, let them know. So I'm not sure if now is the best time to be shipping stuff like that either. Like, we'll have to look into that. So it should be fine, but we don't want to make any additional kind of steps than we have to. So I'll talk to Neil about that, because that's actually something I just not thought about right now for the first time. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. So just stay safe out there. If you can stay home as much as possible, do it. If you're going to go get groceries, go as infrequently as possible. Don't just go and pick something up on the way home from work if you do have to keep working. Like, I need to pick up this, I need to pick up that. Try to do it all in one big bang, and try to only go every couple weeks if you can. Delivery service is a great option if that's available to you. And, let's just stick together. And, we are in this together, and it sucks. There's no other way to put it. It definitely sucks. So, yeah, stay safe out there. Keep your hands washed. Keep your distance from people. And we'll catch you in the next episode, whenever that might be. See you guys.